I want to make a video to kind of log my Hodgkin's lymphoma diagnosis and how treatment has been going, mostly for myself, but I feel awkward just sitting and talking about it, so I was gonna paint my toenails while I do it, so I have something to do. Things didn't get very serious until the end. I must have started feeling symptoms like over a year ago, perhaps like multiple years, because I've had a cough for like almost 3 years, and I would say, like, when you're in the hospital and you have a story you recite it so many times, I was just telling everyone I definitely had symptoms since January of this year, but it might have been more. I definitely had night sweats and the cough. I mean, I felt other things too, like irregular periods, like mood, but it was hard because I thought they were all unrelated to each other. I just thought I was going through a lot of different things, and I just moved into this place by myself in November of last year, so I thought that everything was getting worse because it's an old house, like maybe there's mold or something. Like, I've watched Mia Maple's video where she talked about having all these crazy symptoms and not knowing about it, and it was mold, so I was like, maybe it's mold. But it got, well, the worst thing was my neck, like, swole up. I mean, it must have been since the beginning of the year. I thought that I had gained a bunch of weight, but in reality I was losing weight. It's like another symptom. But in my face, like when I looked at pictures, I was, you know, it was like always a double chin, and my neck was so swollen. It was painful to look down, and it made working hard. I mean, things got so worse starting in like the end of May, like the beginning of June, is when I really was like starting to notice it and kind of bringing it up to people, being like, do you see what's going on with my neck? But I didn't know what to do because I was scared to go to the doctor. I just kept putting it off, saying I'll do it later. It was just denial, I guess. I got kittens too. I was like, maybe I'm allergic to cats. That's why I'm coughing. I was asking my mom to give me cough medicine all the time. It wasn't working. So then, anyway, like the beginning of August, I don't know what day it was, but it must have been like the second week of August. I was hanging out with my friends. And my friends and I was like, you need to go to the ER. This is very serious. This could be like a thyroid thing. I didn't even know what a thyroid was, so I looked it up and stuff. And she said she would go with me, which helped, but it was getting hard to breathe. Like I had been sleeping on my side at night. I'm a side sleeper anyway, but I was sleeping on my side because when I laid on my back, the pressure, like I couldn't really breathe. And my boyfriend, he said, like, for over a year in my sleep, I cough and it sounds like I'm gasping for air and stuff. And I never really believed it was so bad because, you know, I'm asleep, and it would wake me up sometimes. And I mean, and the night sweats too. But I got the Pokemon sleep app, and it recorded my coughs in my sleep, and I heard it for myself, and I was like, okay, this is actually like a serious thing. So we went to the ER, and it was like a good day. I don't know, like the universe was looking out for me or whatever, but I walked right into the ER and they saw me right away. I didn't have to wait at all. And they did my vitals or whatever, and they took me into the room, and I was just telling them that I was having trouble breathing and my neck is swollen, and that's what I was telling the nurses and the people working in the ER. So then they had me go into a room with a computer, and I Zoomed with the doctor, and he was like asking me about the symptoms and why I came in. And he said, like, you should have came in way earlier, let this be a lesson to not wait. But I didn't have insurance at the time. I mean, that was like the big reason why I didn't go. So I was not really cool with him making me feel bad like that, I guess. But then he was like, well, we'll get you a scan, a CT scan, and we'll get you a bed, and you know, when a bed opens up, like, we'll put you back there or whatever. So then I was waiting for a while. They were doing blood work. They put an IV in me. I mean, it was very lucky timing, because then I texted my mom that I was in the ER, and people were out there waiting like for a really long time. I only had to wait like an hour, and they got me back there. Then they did the CT scan. It was like, it was weird. I've never had to go to the hospital for anything real, mostly, and I'm like a relatively healthy person, so it was just kind of scary. Like, when I would have to go do things like this scan, it just made me nervous, because it's so unfamiliar to me. And they like pump the stuff in you, and he's like, it's gonna feel like you're peeing yourself, but you're not actually peeing yourself. It's just how the stuff works. I mean, so crazy. So then they did the scan, and my mom is with me at this point in the ER, and we're waiting, and a doctor comes, and he's like super aloof, and he was just like, so we got the scan results back, and a mass this big. I mean, it looks, you probably have cancer. He was like, you have cancer. Like, he said that. And then he was like, we're gonna admit you to the hospital, and then, you know, whatever. I don't know what he said after that, I don't remember. But he was like, I'll give you a minute to talk. I looked at my mom, I started sobbing. I was like, what? It was just like very surreal. The dude just said, like, you have cancer, and he walked away. And I mean, I came to the ER, I thought they were going to tell me that I had some kind of infection and give me antibiotics and send me home. I didn't know it was going to turn into this whole big thing. And it just was so random, because I don't know, there's no family history of this kind of cancer or whatever. So then they admit me to the hospital. You know, my mom calls my dad, and my boyfriend give me clothes. So I'm by myself for a minute, and a doctor comes, and this doctor is much more personable and has better bedside manner. And he's like, you know, we can't say anything for sure, but it looks like lymphoma. And I just kind of asked him all about that. I mean, I've heard of lymphoma. I don't know anything about lymphoma. And he kind of says like what the plan is after I'm admitted, like the different kinds of scans and meeting with the doctors and stuff. But it's starting to kind of sink in, like halfway, I guess, because they do what they're supposed to do, say like, we're not 100% sure, but it looks like this. So I'm trying to get prepared for this, but I know maybe not. And the only reason I know anything about lymphoma at all, even though I don't know much at that point, is because Hank Green had lymphoma. Like, just, he announced it like the month before, like 2 months before or something. I thought it was like kind of crazy that Hank Green and I both got lymphoma around the same time, I guess. Then they have an ENT resident come and do a scope down my nose into my throat. That was painful. That was crazy and weird. I mean, it was pretty cool though. Like, it kind of grossed me out to look at it, but it was kind of cool. The resident said, like, I don't have any obstructions in my throat, like, so I can breathe, but there are like polyps or whatever all over in there. My mom was like helping film it. She was very proud of that, but I was like kind of not looking, but she said that she saw a bunch of polyps. So like going forward, you know, I'm admitted to the hospital, and I mean, it's kind of like the penthouse. We're on the 8th floor. We've got a beautiful view. And then it kind of starts everything the next day. I don't know, it was kind of a blur, like more scans, more doctors. I was there for like, I think it was like 4 or 5 days, and I got a biopsy done. That was pretty crazy. Like, first I got a ultrasound on my heart, and that was like done in the room I was staying in. And then a dude from transport comes and he's like, I'm taking you to an ultrasound. I was like, another ultrasound? I just got one. Okay. And then he takes me down there, and then they're like, okay, this is the biopsy. And I was like, what? I didn't know it was biopsy. And I thought they would like put me under or something, but it was just like they numb it and I'm like fully awake. So I'm laying there, and it freaks me out just kind of being in the room, like with them, like with the doctors while they're all talking and stuff and procedure and everything, because I've never done anything like that before, and I feel like I'm on ER or something. But anyway, they do the biopsy of my neck. It was like the needle kind where they just like click a thing and take stuff out. And it was kind of painful, but like not the most super painful, or I guess like uncomfortable, because they numb it and they're like, you should just feel pressure, like not pain. But it was kind of uncomfortable, but not like super uncomfortable. And there was a doctor, I think, in there. She was very nice, and she just had those eyes, you know, like that look into your soul kind eyes. And like after the biopsy, she sat next to me, and she would like held my head during the biopsy. After the biopsy, she sat next to me and was like, you know, we have the best doctors, we're gonna figure this out, like you're gonna be okay. Her eyes were so intense. I just started like bawling, because I was like, everything was so weird and new, and I'm not have time to process anything. And you know, it was like a real genuine interaction, and so she was very sweet. And then it was like waiting for the biopsy results, so they discharged me because I mean, I wanted to leave, and we're waiting on the results. So I get discharged. It kind of took a while. I'm out for 1 day. I go like back to work for 1 day, and then I get the call, and they're like, the preliminary results of the biopsy is, it looks like Hodgkin's lymphoma, but there was like scar tissue or whatever. I forgot the word, but it was like scar tissue or whatever in the biopsy. So they're still having to finish it and everything, but it looks like Hodgkin's lymphoma, so we need to readmit you tomorrow. Like, and so I was like, okay, because it's like back and forth. And my dad had just left, but so I'm readmitted to the hospital. Malignant. So yeah, it was like, or is that the right word? I don't know. I'm readmitted to the hospital. Whatever with the tissue was dead tissue. So they need to do another biopsy. And at this point, it's like the system of the hospital is weird because someone calls me and tells me to come in at this time. Another person tells me to come in at this time. This one thing is done outpatient, but like I'm like, I want to go check in and be inpatient so I can put my stuff down. And so like it starts to be crazy. But I feel kind of bad too because my mom and I go for the second biopsy. We go to the other side of the hospital, and I see all the people waiting like outpatient, but I only have to wait a little bit. Like they move me pretty quick. But when it's time for the biopsy, it's the same crew, the same room, so I kind of know what to expect. I got my same support lady there. They're playing like, you know, soft rock like on a Bluetooth speaker. But this time the biopsy was like more intense. Like it was painful. They were really pushing, wanting to get like the right stuff. I bled all over my shirt. It was a whole thing. But then they checked me back in. I mean, I was in the hospital this time for like a week or maybe more than a week for the second stay. So it's like I just did 5 days, now I'm doing a week again. We're waiting on the biopsy result. And then they get it, and then they're like, it is Hodgkin's lymphoma. So now it's time to, they want to get the ball rolling or whatever, but I have like big tumor, mediastinal area, and on my neck and stuff. And they do the scans, and interventional radiology is like, it's too risky to put a port in. So then I have to get a femoral line put in. That's a whole ass surgery with, it's like a real OR kind of. I mean, I think, not kind of, like I think it's a real OR. But when they roll me in, they're playing Bartender featuring T-Pain, my karaoke song. I was like, this is a sign that everything is gonna be okay and like I'm gonna be fine at the end of this. It was like kind of very spiritual. As spiritual as T-Pain can be, but it was very spiritual for me, like that experience. So I have this line in my leg in. I had before that I had my first ambulance ride ever, like from the one, like the cancer hospital of Shands, like to the outpatient building of Shands, so I could get a scan of my whole body or whatever, PET scan, so that way they can determine the stage of the cancer. But then, yeah, after that they put the line in. They had the fertility doctor talk to me. I mean, that stuff is so expensive, tens of thousands of dollars, so I did not do any fertility stuff. I hope that everything ends up being okay. I mean, it honestly feels, I'm not in any place to have a kid anytime soon. And I felt like there was like not anything to be done about that really. Like, just see how it goes. I hope everything will be okay, but I don't know. That was like a weird thing to have to think about, I guess. And yeah, then I get chemo, but it doesn't start till like 10 at night one night. So, and it goes for like 3 hours or whatever. So I was up till like 1 in the morning, and the nurse was, I was not a fan of that nurse, like, but the thing is like beeping when it's over. It's so intense. Then I want to be discharged. They said they're gonna take the line out of my leg, and then it's like a whole thing. Interventional radiology and the doctors arguing all day. It's like a Friday, so like I was waiting all day, like so ready to be discharged, and then they're like, actually, like, we can't take it out of your leg because they say that they won't do it, and it's the weekend, and so you need to be here till Monday. And I'm like, oh, I have to be here till Monday? I'm just so ready to get out. I was so upset. But then they're like, actually, we set up home care so you can go home. And then they're like, actually, like, I talked to the home care people, and they're like, actually, we're not ready to do you tomorrow, so I have to stay. Anyway, like, the hospital is so crazy and intense. My mom and I just walked out the next day because they kind of like forgot about us. So I'm glad that we walked out. But then the most stressful thing about this is keeping up with everything, and like me having to stay on top of everything because there's so many little things, and there's always a problem with something. The actual treatment of it doesn't stress me out, and like I'm lucky that that first chemo, like, you know, everyone hypes it up, like all the symptoms. I mean, it's real. I watched Hank Green's videos and him talking about chemo. I saw that he went bald and he talked about the symptoms. It was so helpful and comforting. Like, when I was in the hospital watching him explain everything. And now I'm watching Grace Helbig's, you know, vlogs about chemo and stuff. But luckily, after that first treatment, I had some nausea and like my stomach hurt the next day, and that was it. And then I had chemo last week. I was tired and my stomach would hurt sometimes, and that was it. I have not thrown up from chemo at all yet. Haven't started losing my hair yet. I don't, like, kind of waiting for it to get bad, but like I don't know, like, and it's kind of weird. I don't know if that's good or if that's bad. Like, it kind of freaks me out. I hope I know the chemo's working. My neck has gone down and everyone says that, and I feel better. Like I can sleep way better, but I am also confused about why I haven't felt the symptoms so bad yet. Anyway, now it's like all outpatient. Last week it went well. I mean, I had to wake up so early because I had to be there at 7:30, and I was there till like noon. That was like tiring, but they have my chemos all scheduled out through January. But I still have this femoral line in. I want to get it out. I don't like it, and I gotta have home care, change the dressing, but something's up. Like, it's just a lot in my brain to keep up with all the time. So that's the most stressful thing about having cancer. It feels weird to say that. I kind of like try to joke about it and stuff, but I don't know. It's also very surreal, and it feels like there's so many different plates spinning all the time, trying to keep them spinning and stuff. It's hard to keep track. And I mean, I see a lot of good from it too. Like, it was definitely, personally, I see the silver lining as like getting my life in order. I moved by myself in November, and I was feeling the symptoms, and it just was getting worse. I mean, I would just lay in bed all day. I I was drinking very heavily. I was like getting so fucked up, like so many nights. I think because like as pain management and also like brain management or whatever. So I'm not drinking, which is good. It was like I had a problem, so it's good that this came, and it was validating to hear the diagnosis, because I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? All these different things. It's because I had cancer, so it was validating that I was struggling just functioning, and I was like, should I have not moved out on my own? I was like, what is wrong with me? I can't even function and take care of myself. It's because I was very sick, and now I feel like I have a team behind me, support. Thankfully, I haven't been so sick that I really need help with daily functioning stuff. I mostly just need, emotional support from my mom and stuff, because it's just a lot to keep up with, but I'm in good spirits. If there's any kind of negativity, I can't deal with it. Everything is, positive, putting good things in. I still get stressed out. That's the negative. But there's no, hatefulness. I'm not doing drama or anything. Just trying to focus on getting better, and I say I'll take it day by day, but I am kind of starting to feel anxiety. I don't know, it's just a lot to keep up with, but I haven't had that bad of symptoms from chemo. And since starting chemo, my night sweats, my cough, it's starting to go away. So, yeah. Maybe I'll make another video talking about chemo or something. I mostly did this for me. I might post it, but yeah, I feel pretty good.